September of 1995, we finally get the first PlayStation. I remember seeing it in magazines, I was like, I don't even know what this is. Coming off the tails of being a little convoluted with like the 3DO and the CDI, then here comes the Sony PlayStation, another disc system. Well, I took a gamble on it that year, and it paid off. If you grabbed a Sony PlayStation in 1995, here are the games that you were playing. And as always, the videos on this channel are free. But if you want to support the channel, you can buy one of these hats. The video games I make are for sale. I also make custom air fresheners, like this one that smells like an arcade from the 1980s. This one smells like your old high school cafeteria. How about some cherry pie and some damn fine coffee? Or this one that smells like your grandma's purse. And I also wrote a book about breakfast cereals from the 80s and 90s. Pretty cool. All the above, check my link in the description below. Thank you much. The first disc I want to talk about is the one that you received when you pre-ordered your PlayStation 1. Now you got this maybe a month in advance. It was a music CD, and that was kind of what they were looking for, I think. You could play this in your CD player, it had some cool songs on there and everything. And then when you did get your PlayStation 1, you could pop it in, and it would have these little tech demos on here. Well, it'd show you like, you know, like polygonal stuff and whatever graphical, things it can do and stuff like that. How many moving sprites can be on screen? And, I mean, I don't know. I remember I had a friend of mine in high school who used to, I don't know if I could drop some fry, whatever you want to call it, but he was a big fan of this. I had more fun watching him watching this, I think. I thought the dinosaur was pretty cool, though. And then the pack-in was the PlayStation Picks. This was, had 4 playable demos on here, and then it had a bunch of videos for games that were coming soon. Yeah, something to get you ready for, what's about to happen here with the PlayStation 1. As I show you a little bit of what this thing looks like, I received my PlayStation the day after it came out. I didn't get it day 1, I had to get it day 2, because day 1 on release, that's what I happened to be there, software, etc. And they said, oh, we're doing a special right now. It's $2.99, but we'll give you $100 off if you bring in a Super Nintendo and literally any 3 games. So the very next day, I brought in my Super Nintendo, I brought in literally any 3 games, and I only had enough money for the PlayStation 1. I didn't have money for a second controller, I didn't have money for a memory card, I didn't even have money for a game. This PlayStation Picks disc and these 4 demos were the only games I played for an entire month. Until the very next month, I was able to, purchase a game and get a second controller and get a memory card, which were all kind of needed. The PlayStation 1 only came with 1 controller, so that's all you had. But yeah, I played the holy bejesus out of these 4 playable demos. The first game I did get was Battle Arena Toshinden, and why wouldn't I? 3D fighting game with weapons and stuff like that. Now this was kind of coming off the trails of Street Fighter 2 and all the Street Fighter 2 clones, and now the popular games were Virtua Fighter and Tekken, so then we started getting all the 3D fighting game clones. And this one takes a little bit of both, and it has its own little vibe to it too. I was actually a really big fan of this game. My friends and I really enjoyed playing this game a lot. It was just something new, man. It was something kind of futuristic for the time. Huge fan of Battle Arena Toshinden. I still kind of like it today too. ESPN Extreme Games was always a fun one. Now this was one of the ones I also played on that demo disc. It features biking and skateboarding and rollerblading, and then what's that downhill kind of laying down one? The luge? Is that what that's called? Just the graphical stuff was blowing my mind. Because again, I was coming from Super Nintendo, where like all the polygons were kind of flat and everything like that. But this one's like, it just looked so cool. And the fact that I had that little road rash element too, where you can kind of like, punch people off, knock them off their guard and everything. Super fun. Liked this one quite a bit too. Oh my goodness, Air Combat blew my mind when I first played it. And all of the Aero Combat games, or Ace Combat, whatever you want to call them, are absolutely amazing. I still love them today. This was the game that, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, it's gonna be like Top Gun, whatever. But man, it's so much more than Top Gun. It just has that Namco vibe to it too. And that's one of the nice things with PlayStation, was it had a lot of Namco support. We're gonna see some more Namco games later on this list too. So much so that the loading screen for Ridge Racer, well, here it is right here. I remember it's kind of fun too. If you actually clear all the enemies on this loading screen, you can play as all the unlocked cars. Great. But this is Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer is super hot in the arcade, and then at home, the at-home experience to me looked the same. It was like, as far as I was concerned, it was a one-to-one thing. Now, sure, you're not sitting down in the cockpit. You don't call it a car's cockpit, right? The driver's seat? And yeah, you don't have the steering wheel and all that too, but super great game. Loved me some Ridge Racer for sure. Love the soundtrack too. Yeah, how's this for a switch for you? You're like getting super excited. Oh my goodness, it's Capcom. Can't wait to see what a Capcom game looks like on PlayStation 1. Whoa, Acclaim? Acclaim? Well, we had Street Fighter 2, the movie, the game. That's right. And this is another game I had. I actually went out and grabbed this one just because I was such a big fan of Street Fighter 2. And Street Fighter 2, the movie, the game, the PlayStation 1 game, is it's actually not a terrible game. It looks a little weird, right? Because it's still doing the Mortal Kombat style, you know, freeze frame the characters and all that. But at the end of the day, it's just Street Fighter 2 with different graphics. Like, literally Street Fighter 2. And there's a couple of extra moves that were in here too, which I thought were kind of fun. There's even like a movie mode, a story mode, where you play as, don't call him Guile, Colonel Guile. Was it Captain Guile? No, I'm pretty sure it's Colonel Guile. And there's even a little bit of a choose-your-own-adventure element. It's like, oh, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over there. And when you go here or go there, you have to fight a different person, of course. But I don't know. It's when you see this, laugh all you'd like, but then maybe play it. It's actually pretty decent, I think. The PlayStation 1 was the time I was introduced to Rayman for the first time. And at first, I thought nothing of Rayman. He's not Mario, he's not Sonic. And if you're not Mario and you're not Sonic, that means you're Bubsy. That means you're gonna be another mascot that some company is trying to force down your throat with some weird mechanic or some weird color or some weird attitude or something like that, and all of that thrown out the window when I first played it. Because this game is amazing. And the Rayman games, low-key, I mean, to me, high-key, but the Rayman games, low-key, every single Rayman game has all been pretty amazing, and it never gets the love it deserves. And it breaks my heart, because I love the Rayman games. They're just fun, they're just cute, they're colorful, they're great. I would love to see a Rayman game on, like, the Quest 3. I'd love to see a 3D Rayman game. And it's Ubisoft, so I know they do 3D games, but yeah, it all started with this one for me. The Rayman games that are out on the Switch too. If you haven't done them, seriously pick them up. They're really fun. Kalik the DNA Imperative, name of this game. I keep on wanting to call it the DNA Experience. That's not right. Kalik, I believe, was the first kind of first-person Doom, well, not really Doom-like, but like, you know, Wolfenstein. Not really Wolfenstein. This is that first-person kind of 3D dungeon. Oh, it's not dungeon crawler. Well, it looks like this. How about that? It's that first-person shooter where you're going, it's a maze-type game, I suppose, where you're just, you know, going around and shooting all the things, collecting all the stuffs, moving on with your life. This was the game I realized I needed a memory card. Now, the games I played previous to this, I just pop them in, play them, have a fun time. But then when I rented this game, which I rented this game, when I rented this game and I beat the first level, it's like, hey, okay, we're going to save your progress now. I was like, oh, lovely, that's right. I need a memory card, so I had to rush out with whatever money I didn't have. I think I asked my mom to buy me a memory card or something. But then it was great, because then I had that aha moment where I realized, wait a minute. Unlike RPGs of the past, for like the Super Nintendo or whatever, I can rent a video game and save my progress, and then bring it back, and then like 2 weeks later, a month later, I can rent it again, and continue where I left off. This is gonna be a great way. I can, instead of just buying video games, I can just rent them until I beat them. On my own pace, at my own time. Not even from the same store if I don't have to. And at the end of the day, I also liked Kalik quite a bit for its time, especially. We had a game called Cyber Speed. I think I remember renting this once and not having a clue what I was doing. I was like, oh, this looks like it can be kind of cool. You know, I had the Wipeout was part of that demo disc earlier, and I was really waiting for Wipeout. And I was like, well, I'll play this in the meantime. But I was like, it seemed like a roller coaster, like a ride, like I'm tethered to this thing, and I always suck at it. But you can shoot things? I don't know. But we had Cyber Sled. And Cyber Sled I was pretty excited for. For you see, I was a big fan of, get this, Combat for the Atari 2600. Now, how does the 2600 tie in with the PlayStation 1? Well, to me, this game felt like a 3D version of Combat. A futuristic version of it, sure. But if Combat for the 2600 was in 3D, that to me is what this game felt like to me. And I was all for it, so pretty decent game. Well, we got WrestleMania, complete with digitized music and digitized voice and digitized actors and all that. This game, if you grabbed it from Blockbuster, would also have that VHS you could rent, the promo VHS you could rent, that had a behind-the-scenes view. This is, again, with Midway, taking it back to what made Mortal Kombat popular, where they just used the actual wrestlers themselves to do their own screen capping and everything, with a fantasy element, so, you know, different wrestlers have different things and abilities that you're not supposed to be able to do. I also remember sometimes having like ridiculous combos where you could just like pile drive them 4 times in a row and stuff like that. It's far more of a fighting game, an arcade action game, than a wrestling game, but as a huge wrestling fan, it was great to see. Oh my goodness, I was so excited to see Jumping Flash finally come out. I played the demo of this probably the most on that demo disc thing. And this is exactly what I was looking for. A 3D action platformer that you could also shoot. You have to grab all the carrots, make your way through the exit. Huge fan of Jumping Flash. I would love to see them come back with Jumping Flash. I'd love to see a new Jumping Flash today. Oh my god, can you imagine Jumping Flash for the PSVR? I just now thought of that. I literally just now thought of that. Why don't we have Jumping Flash for the PSVR? It'd be the PSVR 2 for the PlayStation 5. Oh, it'd be the best thing ever. But very cool action platformer. Again, shoot the enemies and all that. You have a double jump, so when you jump, you're fine. When you double jump, that's when you kind of look down to, you know, see where your shadow is and go from there. I just had a great time with this game. Oh, we finally get Twisted Metal later in the year. I'm okay with that. After watching that video play for that demo disc earlier, I literally had dreams where I was playing this game. And when I finally played the game in real time, it was a dream come true, for lack of better words. The way I played the game in my dream was literally how it played out when I finally played the game. You just have this kind of like 3D open world to an extent, and then you just have to battle the other cars. Great as a 2-player as well. My friends and I would play this on 2-player all the time. It was just great. And I would love to see them come back with Twisted Metal. I'd love to see them come back today with a Twisted Metal 100-player online battle royal style. Oh man, wouldn't that be great? Anyway. Oh, Tekken finally comes out as well. Oh, good lord, did we play ourselves some Tekken. I loved Tekken, and I loved it better on the PlayStation 1 than I did in the arcade. For some reason, I can just control it better with a D-pad than I can with a joystick. And the fact that you actually had a wrestler in there as King on any video game ever made for the history of time, if there's a wrestler in there, I'll play as the wrestler 99% of the time. And the fact that you can also do combo moves and everything too, where it's like you can, like, you know, DDT him and then turn him around and give him a neck snap and then pick him back up, and oh man. Love me some Tekken. It all started here on the PlayStation 5. Wait, what? It all started here on the PlayStation 1. We also had Warhawk, and I was curious about Warhawk, and I thought it played okay. I mean, both of them fantastic, both of them wonderful. Warhawk, I liked it a lot. I liked it a whole lot. I liked it less than Twisted Metal. I almost wish it would have come out a little bit staggered time, because to me it seems like both of them came out like just about the same time. But I was too busy playing all these other games to really focus on Warhawk. Although Warhawk was a really, really fun game, because you can just kind of fly around and, you know, shoot stuff. I mean, what else can you say? It's great. Hey, how about Criticom? You ever play yourself some Criticom? Well, it was another attempt at a 3D fighter, and not a great one at that. But I at least rented it, I think, once, and I was like, it's good enough for me. But another 3D fighter, and believe it or not the last 3D fighter on this list for 1995. We did get Discworld, and Discworld I was very excited for. Discworld, Terry Pratchett, voice of Eric Idle in this game, so you get the Eric Idle, you know, British humor, which I always have a fond appreciation for.
Aha! Portalis Exitus, or the common doorway. See? I'm not a wizard for nothing, you know.
Without going too far into it or too deep into it, it is just a point-and-click style adventure game that I would typically see on a PC. Although I didn't have a PC at this time, but I did have a PlayStation 1. So I was able to play that style with voice, with audio, with CD soundtrack and all that right here on the PlayStation 1, and I was all for it. We also had Destruction Derby in 1995. Destruction Derby does have a speedway race mode with car battle mechanical. If you hit something, hit a wall, then you take damage and all that. Yeah, I never saw that. I think I looked at it once, maybe twice. Maybe twice. The Destruction Derby element was all I ever wanted to do with this game, so it made it the perfect rental if you just want to grab something and break stuff. And I also learned from my Destruction Derby days, I wasn't in a Destruction Derby, but I'd watch it every once in a while at our local speedway, is that the idea is to not go head on. That's where the engine is. Why would you do that? So back up into everyone. Keep your engine running as long as possible. Destruction Derby, what a fun idea for a game like this, with the full polygons and then how, you know, things take damage and all that, and it shows. It was a great thing for its time. I love it. Jupiter Strike looked very cool. I thought Jupiter Strike, you know, to me it seemed like it was like a Star Fox, and this is coming from me. Honestly, I'm not the biggest Star Fox fanatic. That's okay, but it's fine. But this was like, oh, hey, if you like Star Fox, you'll like Jupiter Strike, because it has a bit of those same kind of elements in it too, where, you know, whether behind the scenes or in the cockpit or whatever, very Star Fox-like. Loaded was a game I could get behind. I did love me some Loaded for sure. 2-player game, cool characters, one of the best soundtracks for its time. I loved the soundtrack for this game. Uses like an actual band, an actual, you know, at least like the opening song and maybe a couple other songs in there too. We are no longer, I mean, all the blood and stuff, the things exploding and all that. Oh, great. I mean, aside from that, it was a lot like a very graphical, kind of futuristic-y, quirky Gauntlet in a way, where you're just like, it's going around and opening the doors and finding the key card and going through. But yeah, big explosions, a lot of blood and guts if that's your thing. It wasn't really my thing, but it was still cool to see on a screen, especially in '95. Yeah, loaded. I love it. I've talked about it on this channel a few times. We also had Gex, and Gex was another one of those, hey, let's make a mascot character and have fun with it. And this one was pretty okay too. I think the comedy writing was better than the gameplay itself, so I mostly wanted to play it just to hear what he would say.
Do your arms ever get tired? That's it. That's the spot.
Aside from that, I mean, kind of mediocre platformer, right? I think, in my opinion anyway. You might have a different opinion. But the comedy, to me, made the world of difference. Space Griffin VF9 came out. This puts you in the cockpit of a mech. That's what this game does. I don't got much else to say about that. We'll move along. Zero Divide. At the end of the year, we had Zero Divide, just in time for Christmas, and here is that other 3D fighting game. This one played better, though. I do like this one more than that other one. Tekken was still the best, and Battle Arena Toshinden was one I still liked a lot, too. So with those two games, I'm good. Zero Divide, made for a fun rental. It was okay. It was okay. It was okay. Road Rash as well. Again, Road Rash, you cannot go wrong with a kind of racing motorcycle-y game. And then you can just punch people off of their motorcycles to help you get the advantage, or use your chain whip if you happen to find one or something like that. And if you happen to stumble and trip and fall and you bail out, well, you can always run back to your bike. And when you're running back, that was always my favorite thing to do. If you find like an enemy running back, you could run over him again. Well, I wouldn't do that in real life, but on a video game, it's all good. And we do finally get Wipeout at the end of the year as well. This was the other racing game I was really looking forward to playing. Loved it on the demo disc, and I'm glad they included this as a demo disc because I'm not the biggest racing game fan. So it's like, if this would have come out, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe I'll rent it, maybe. But because I played that demo, I was just like, ooh, yeah, this is... Wipeout is such a great, like, futuristic hover racing game, but still had the element of picking up items like missiles or speed boosts or shields to help you win the race a little bit better. It's just, it was great. It was great. It was fantastic, and love me some Wipeout. Yeah, it was. And for the 4 months that PlayStation existed in 1995, I honestly believe it was enough of an impact for people to say, okay, PlayStation's not going anywhere. We'll look at the 1996 PlayStation games eventually. Make sure you're subscribed. I appreciate you. And maybe check out these other videos when I looked at other console games that came out kind of during those times. It's fun to see, like, what games were coming out in that specific year along with whatever else also came out too, right?